Get ready to buckle up because we're diving headfirst into the circus that is the Dallas Cowboys. That's right, America's team just took another spectacular nosedive. And boy, do we have a show for you today? Picture this, Dak Prescott throwing more balls to the opposing team than his own receivers, a defense softer than a marshmallow in a microwave, and a sideline looking more confused than a cat in a dog park. But wait, there's more. We've got the spiciest takes from Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe that'll make your ears burn and your sides split. Hey there, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Fan, your ultimate destination for all things America's team. Whether you bleed blue and silver or are just starting to catch Cowboys fever, this is the place. If you are a die-hard fan, please make sure to subscribe for more latest news and updates of your favorite team. We're dissecting the fallout from the Cowboys' crushing defeat against the Baltimore Ravens. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to unpack. So picture this. It's a crisp Sunday afternoon, and America's team is facing off against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. The stage is set for an epic showdown. But what we got instead was a comedy of errors that left Cowboys fans pulling their hair out and the rest of the NFL world cackling with glee. Let's start with the man of the hour, or should I say, the man of the sour Dak Prescott. Now, I've been a fan of Dak's resilience and leadership for years, but even I have to admit that this performance was rougher than a $2 steak. Prescott looked more lost out there than a tourist in Times Square, throwing interceptions like he was trying to complete passes to the Ravens secondary. But here's the kicker, folks, and I mean that literally, because the Cowboys' kicking game was about as reliable as a chocolate teapot. Dak's post-game press conference was a masterclass in deflection and denial. He stood there, looking like a kid who just got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, trying to convince us all that this loss was just a minor setback. Minor setback? My friends, that's like calling the Titanic a minor boating incident. Now, let's talk about the reactions from our favorite sports personalities, Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe. If you thought the game was entertaining, wait until you hear what these two had to say. Stephen A., in his signature style, that's about as subtle as a sledgehammer, went absolutely nuclear on the Cowboys. Picture this, Stephen A., decked out in his finest suit, looking like he's about to burst a blood vessel as he screams into the camera, HOWBOUTTHEMCOWBOY says. The man was more fired up than a chili pepper in a deep South summer. He went on a rant that would make even the most seasoned sailor blush, calling out everyone from Jerry Jones to the Waterboy. But the real gem came when Stephen A. started breaking down Dak's performance. He said, and I quote, "Dak Prescott couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat right now. Ouch. That's the kind of burn that requires immediate medical attention." Shannon Sharpe, not one to be outdone in the hot take department, chimed in with his own brand of savage commentary. Shannon, with that mischievous grin of his, looked like the cat that ate the canary as he dissected the Cowboys' game plan, or lack thereof. He pointed out that watching the Cowboys' offense was like watching a car crash in slow motion. You know it's going to end badly, but you just can't look away. Shannon went as far as to suggest that the Cowboys might want to consider putting up missing posters for their running game because it was nowhere to be found on Sunday. But let's be real for a second here, folks. This loss isn't just about one bad game. It's about a pattern of disappointment that's become as predictable as a bad rom-com. The Cowboys, year after year, come into the season with more hype than a Marvel movie premiere, only to crash and burn when it really counts. Jerry Jones, the Cowboys' owner and resident optimist-in-chief, tried to put a positive spin on things. But let me tell you, watching Jerry try to explain away this loss was like watching a magician try to convince you he really did saw his assistant in half. It's not convincing, and it's a little bit sad. Now, I know what some of you die-hard Cowboys fans are thinking. It's just one game. We'll bounce back. And to that, I say, bless your hearts. Your optimism is admirable, but at this point, it's starting to look like Stockholm Syndrome. Let's break down some of the key moments that had Stephen A. and Shannon losing their minds. There was that fourth quarter interception that Doc threw, which was so off target, it looked like he was aiming for the Gatorade cooler on the sidelines. Shannon described it as a pass so bad, it made me question if Doc forgot which team he was playing for. Then there was the defense, or should I say, the turnstiles masquerading as a defense. Lamar Jackson was running through the Cowboys' defensive line like it was a game of Red Rover. Stephen A. had a field day with this, saying the Cowboys' defense had more holes than a block of Swiss cheese left out in the sun. But perhaps the most cringe-worthy moment came in the final minutes of the game. The Cowboys, down by 2 scores, needed a miracle. What they got instead was a series of plays so poorly executed, it looked like they were trying to reenact the infamous butt fumble. Shannon, barely containing his laughter, said it reminded him of watching his grandkids play Madden for the first time. Now, let's not forget about Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys head coach, who looked about as comfortable on the sidelines as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. His play calling was more conservative than a monastery, and his clock management skills made you wonder if he thought the game was being timed with a sundial. Stephen A. didn't pull any punches when it came to McCarthy either. He suggested that McCarthy's playbook must have been written in invisible ink because he sure as heck couldn't see any creativity out there on the field. But here's the thing, folks, as much as we're all enjoying this Cowboys roast, and believe me, I could go on all day, there's a serious question we need to ask. What's next for America's team? The Cowboys are at a crossroads. They've got all the talent in the world, a quarterback they're paying more than the GDP of some small countries, and a fan base that's more loyal than a golden retriever. So why can't they put it all together when it matters most? Shannon raised an interesting point during his analysis. He suggested that maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't with the players or even the coaching staff. Maybe the issue goes all the way to the top. Is Jerry Jones' hands-on approach helping or hurting the team? It's a question that's been asked before, but after a loss like this, it's impossible to ignore. Stephen A., never one to shy away from controversy, took it a step further. He suggested that maybe it's time for the Cowboys to consider a complete overhaul. Blow it up, he shouted, waving his arms like he was directing traffic. Start from scratch. Because whatever they're doing now clearly isn't working. As we wrap up this breakdown of the Cowboys' latest disappointment, I want to hear from you, the fans. What do you think is the root of the problem in Dallas? Is it Doc's inconsistency? McCarthy's play calling? Jerry's meddling? Or is it some sort of ancient curse placed on the team by a disgruntled fan of the Washington football team? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. And hey, if you're a Cowboys fan, maybe consider therapy. I hear it does wonders for dealing with chronic disappointment. Before we go, let's not forget the real victims in all of this, the long-suffering Cowboys fans. To you brave souls who continue to wear your jerseys with pride, who defend your team in the face of overwhelming evidence, who still believe that this is our year, despite all logic and reason, we salute you. Your dedication is admirable, even if it's slightly concerning from a mental health perspective. Remember, folks, football is just a game. A game that apparently the Dallas Cowboys have forgotten how to play,